So the stage is set for what could be a landmark turning point on the 3-year-long war in Ukraine. The Trump-Zelensky meeting in the White House gets underway in about an hour from now, and beyond signing of a deal allowing American access to Ukraine's mineral resources, the big question, of course, is what does the meeting hold for the future of Volodymyr Zelensky? And what does the deal mean for the future of Ukraine? And perhaps most importantly, can this meeting change the course of this war? Take a look at this report.
We're going to have a very good meeting tomorrow morning. We're going to get along really well. Okay? We have a lot of respect. I have a lot of respect for him. We've given them a lot of equipment and a lot of money, but they have fought very bravely, no matter how you figure it. They have really fought. Somebody has to use that equipment, and they have been very brave in that sense.
A dictator without elections.
After all the snubs and insults over the last couple of weeks, words of praise from the US president for his Ukrainian counterpart. On the eve of their meeting at the White House, Trump even said he couldn't believe he called Zelensky a dictator. The paradigm shift in the trajectory on the Russia-Ukraine war that Donald Trump brought in reaches a crescendo with today's meeting, raising some big questions. The meeting will be a pivotal moment for the future of both Zelensky and Ukraine. NATO's doors are virtually shut for Kyiv. Zelensky has been glossed over as having no say in any peace talks on Russia's aggression on his country. President Putin has stated his position, and Trump is seen as holding most cards when it comes to future military support. This meeting could be Zelensky's last chance to mollify Trump for continued support. US security guarantees for which talks will get underway are seen as critical.
In this deal, there are only, basic things about that. Yes, security guarantees and etc. But I think it's not about it. Next steps have to be about it. Without future security guarantees, we will not have really just peace, and we will not have really ceasefire, what Trump spoken about. And if we don't have it, nothing will work. So we will have nothing.
Is US access to Ukrainian mineral resources really all lose-lose for Zelensky? What it definitely does is to make the US and Trump stakeholders of sorts in Ukraine. A minerals deal makes the US responsible for Ukraine's protection. As Ukrainian forces hold out against slow but steady advances by Russia, watchers say the Zelensky-Trump meet could pull the country out of a hole it finds itself sinking into. Many Ukrainians fear that a hastily negotiated peace, especially one that makes too many concessions to Russian demands, will allow Moscow to rearm and consolidate its forces for a future invasion after current hostilities cease. Can this meeting make history? The mood, spirit, the body language and vibes, everything is in for close scrutiny.
We're working very hard to get that war brought to an end. I think we've made a lot of progress. I think it's moving along pretty rapidly. And I want to thank all of the people that are here that have been working on it. And we'll let you know what happens. It'll either be fairly soon or it won't be at all.
Bureau Report, WION World is One.
All right, now to give us more perspective on this, we're joined by Mr. Maximilian Hess. He's joining us live from London. He's a Central Asia Fellow at the Foreign Policy Research Institute and the author of Economic War, Ukraine and the Global Conflict Between Russia and the West. Mr. Hess, so the meeting is to happen between Volodymyr Zelensky and President Donald Trump. The Americans, of course, want access to the Ukrainian rare earth minerals, but the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky wants American security guarantees. Do you think Donald Trump is willing to give American security guarantees to Ukraine?
Well, firstly, thank you very much for having me. I don't think that in the current environment it is very likely at all that Donald Trump will give serious and meaningful security guarantees to Ukraine. It was perhaps a negotiating mistake that he had given away so much at the beginning of these talks with Russia, but at the same time, I think that the prospects that there will be some kind of grand bargain between Putin and Trump, and one that cuts out Ukraine and cuts out Europe, are also vastly overblown. Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin may find each other very attractive personalities, but their geostrategic and geoeconomic interests are diametrically opposed to one another.
It's interesting that you say that the strategic realities are opposed to one another, but the fact is the Russians have made it clear that they do not want to negotiate the territory that they've already captured militarily. With that being the case, what do you think the Americans will negotiate with Russia when they have talks with each other?
Well, Vladimir Putin has said that he wants far more than that. He has also demanded the incorporation of the entire Kherson and Zaporozhye regions in Ukraine, neither of which the Russian forces have fully occupied at any point, and parts of which that they did occupy in 2022, they were then forced out of after Ukraine's most successful counteroffensive at the end of that year. What Putin really wants is to drive apart Europe and the United States, however. So he's happy to keep these talks stringing along for a while, to use them to rile tensions between the Trump administration and the European Union, and of course between the Trump administration and the Ukrainians, because if he's able to really turn those tensions that exist between Trump and Zelensky, and have for many years, because Trump blames Zelensky for part of his first impeachment, even if it was entirely his own corrupt doing, then that means that Ukraine will get less direct military aid, and he'll be able to make further military advances. So the holding of these talks, even if they're not likely to result in an actual agreement, is in itself in Putin's tactical interest.
Interesting. We'll have to leave there. Thank you very much, Mr. Hess, for joining us with that perspective there.
Thank you so much for having me.